What a performance then from Leeds. Huge disappointment for Chelsea fans, especially when they take a look at the table. Look at the gap now between Arsenal and Chelsea. 9 points between the two. Of course, Chelsea were kind of declared as the title contenders after what we saw at the weekend. But of course, that defeat, along with City and Aston Villa winning, meaning the Maresca's side dropped to 4th in the table. Blooming heck, Craig, where this come from?
They're 3 points behind Villa, who couldn't win a game at the start of the season. I thought they were excellent for the most part at the weekend against Arsenal.
I think everybody did. So that's why it's almost a bigger disappointment now if you're a Chelsea fan, because you think, well, if we could do that against 10 men against Arsenal, what the heck are we doing today?
What I don't get, and we just see this all the time now, a lot, is 2 of the best players that they've had, and certainly from the weekend, Neto, who's one of the most dangerous players. All right, Estevao is a youngster who does some brilliant stuff, but Neto's been consistently playing well for them. And Reece James, and I know he's had a lot of injuries, right? But not recently. He looks back to peak fitness, he looks sharp, he looks strong. He was playing in midfield against Arsenal and he was excellent. Really calm, good passing in the ball, all that sort of stuff. Those 2 were on the bench tonight.
Yeah.
Because somebody's telling managers, and we know who they are, played in the weekend, got a lot of big games coming up. But you've got to put some momentum together.
Yeah.
You've got to put a run of results. You've got to keep putting the pressure on, and you're not going to do that, or you're unlikely to do it, if you're leaving your best players out. Chelsea are not good enough, right, to leave their best players out. Maybe City a few years ago when they were dominating English football.
Arsenal today could do it, obviously.
Arsenal could do it because they're top of the league, they've got a little bit of a gap, and they've got a really strong squad, and they're at home to Brentford. Yeah. They're away to Leeds. I think Augie was saying just before we came on, Leeds have lost, 1 game?
Once at home in about 18 months, so, I mean, like you say, you got well and road against a team that's fighting for points. You don't rest your best players. There's certain games you pick and choose, and home games when you've got an easier afternoon, but Leeds away.
But it just seems we see this a lot now. And that'll be the excuse from Maresca will come out, and I'm sure some of the journals will say, well, what about your team selection, Marg? Listen, I got a lot of games, injuries. When you play like how, so Chelsea, they beat Burnley away. It wasn't a great game, but they ground that out. They were excellent against Barcelona. They were excellent against Arsenal with 10 men. As a player, you just want to keep going. You never really feel tired when you're winning. The tiredness only comes mentally when you're in this sort of losing, a bit like Liverpool, who had a real struggle. So I just don't understand. And Caicedo wasn't available, but that's not the reason that they lost today. They just got outworked by Leeds and I think made at least too many changes.
No team's going to be able to put a run of 12, 13 games together the way City did the last few years. When you keep continually changing the team every time it steps on the field. I was talking about standards that Chelsea set against Arsenal, but then they step on the field with changes up front, changes in the middle, albeit 4th in the middle, and changes at the back. So how are you expected to keep your standards up when you're making all these changes? I mean, it makes no sense at all. And again, and I've said it a million times, how about you start Reece James and you start Neto, and then when you see them looking as though they're a little tired, then you take them off. Do it the other way. Don't bring them on for the last half an hour when it's too late and you're chasing the game. I mean, it's just, people talk to us about, you're old school. Well, there's a lot of things that used to happen that were the right things and they worked. But all of a sudden, everybody's thrown them out the window, and this is how we do it now. Well, guess what? The way you're doing it now, particularly Maresca, it's not working.
See, last season it was different because he had the Conference League, so what he would do, he would play his best players in the Premier League, and basically the other 12 or 13 would play in the Conference League, so that's how he was getting his games in. But now, obviously Champions League, you can't treat the Champions League like the Conference League, so he has to play all these players, and he's probably rotating too much, isn't he? There's no consistency there. Like at the weekend, Shalaban Fofana against Arsenal at centre-half played really well. He changes it. Why he's doing it, I don't know, but he's probably thinking, well, I've got Christmas coming up, a lot of games, we've got a game at the weekend, game in the Champions League next week. He's just made the wrong call at the wrong time.
Arsenal, meanwhile, loving life. Yeah. You've got a makeshift back four pretty much, but you go in, the squad is so full of confidence. They didn't look like losing today really at all, did they?
Well, I think the key for Arsenal, when Mosquera went off injured, he puts on Timber at right back, so Ben White then goes from right back to centre half, and you don't even notice the join. But they're missing Saliba, they're missing Gabriel. They've got so much depth. I think they lack a bit of X factor, a bit of star quality in terms of, like, you know, what Chelsea have got, that explosiveness, but they're rock solid. And at every position, apart from maybe Odegaard in the field, they've got cover for. And that's why they're 5 points to the top of the league and looking really strong.
And you've got Marina coming in, making an impact.
They finally got their number 9, didn't they? I mean, I bet Gyökeres was sitting thinking, I wish I was getting some of those crosses that come in. He did get one at the end against Chelsea that Timber took off his head.
Yeah.
But he does do a great job. He's, you know, he is against Chelsea in the first half. Nobody gave the ball away, I think, for Arsenal more than Moreno. And then he pops up with important goals, and he did again tonight. He's done a great job for Mikel Arteta. Look, it's theirs
reflecting
to lose,
the team's
Even
growing
this early in the
chemistry
season.
and hunger to
It's theirs
secure
lose.
another
We just
vital
take a look
league
at the Premier
victory.
League table again, just to remind, like Chelsea, after the Chelsea game, we got, well, maybe they could push it, maybe they could do something. But it just feels like one result has completely changed that narrative.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, maybe we kind of got too excited about the performance Chelsea gave us against Arsenal, because we had been talking all season about how you can't really trust them. You know, we know what they're capable of, but they don't always show it. And then they produce that performance against Arsenal, and you think, okay, they because of the problems that we know City have, that's why we've kind of not discarded them, but we know the problems. Okay, now we've got somebody who maybe we can hang our hat on, who can actually put some pressure on Arsenal, who can chase them, force them into doing things they maybe wouldn't do. But then they turn round, the manager picks the wrong team, the players that do play don't produce certainly the intensity was nowhere close to what it was against Arsenal. And so we're kind of back to where we started.
Yeah, we're kind of picking and choosing who we think are the next title contenders. Manchester City, okay, sitting second, but we saw yesterday that vulnerability at the back. It's difficult to put an argument as to why consistently they're going to put a run together.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Villa. I mean, Villa maybe, if Villa beat Arsenal at the weekend, then maybe Villa are back in it, but they've never been in it in the first place, so you wouldn't trust Villa to do the challenges. And Man City, like you say, unreliable at the back. And if Erling Haaland gets injured or misses any period of time, then who scores the goals? So, for me, Arsenal are the best team, and I can't think of a league season like this in many years whereby the second best team has been so far off the best team. There's just not a direct challenger. There's nobody there that you can. I mean, the league is so poor this year that Liverpool and Man United could both qualify for the Champions League, which is crazy considering how they've had the season so far.
I mean, we were sitting here, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, talking about City, and people were saying, well, you're talking about their defence, and their defensive record at the time wasn't that bad. And it wasn't. They were saying, well, you know, but that's the last 3 or 4 games, that's gone out the window. Completely gone out the window. I mean, they were hanging on against Leeds.
10. We lost 10 goals in the last 4 games.
So, I mean, that...
City could do business in January. A lot of clubs, I think, are looking at the window, but City they've got headroom to spend. They like Semenyo at Bournemouth. They like Elliot Anderson. I don't think.
Semenyo's not a defender.
But how many didn't they do a lot of business last January?
Yeah, and in the summer.
And where were they?
Where's Mamouche?
They're all sat in the stand.
How can you be in a position a club
over there?
How can you be in a position a club like Man City? You know you were losing some of your key fullbacks. You had the summer to address it. They're still playing Matheus Nunes at right back, and and Nico O'Reilly at left back. He's a very good player, but he's not a left back. You sign that Nouri from Wolves in the summer. I mean, I'm fed up saying this. He's a good footballer going forward. He can't defend.
Well, what City have done, they've signed lots of players over the last 2 or 3 windows. They haven't been as good as the ones that were replaced. And substantially different, certainly in terms of De Bruyne and Reinders. But for me, they haven't addressed the Rodri situation. Rodri to me looks like he's really struggling to get over his injury. And they brought in Nico Gonzalez in January. Hasn't done well. They were expecting Rodri to be back this season, and Rodri would have kind of locked the door in front of the defence. He's not fit, he's struggling, and that has left a real problem in the team. So I think if City can address that in the window, like I say, right, I mean, £100 million for a midfield in January. I can't see Forest selling, but if they get something like that in, and Semenyo, then that would give City a bit of a
But how can
That's going to be tough, though. You're talking about a Ballon d'Or winner.
Elliot Anderson.
Yeah. I mean, Rodri's a guy that won the Ballon d'Or who gets a bad injury, and you know it's going to take time to come back. I mean, even they've been scouting, you know they're looking at people, but they're never going to. You can't replace Ballon d'Or.
He came back in June, and they were expecting the season that he was having his kind of pre-season in June at the Club World Cup. He had a couple of games under his belt, and they expected by the start of this season, or certainly by now, he'd be back playing again. And he's just struggling. He's picking lots of injuries, hamstring problems. So clearly, he's had a cruise ship, it's a bad injury, so he's clearly struggling to get back to anywhere near his
But that's a big ask for any player. I don't care how good you are, to come in and all of a sudden the back door's one player, the back line's protected. They knew the full-back position has been key for them, and key for them tactically as well, how he plays his full-backs. I mean, they're all doing it now, most of them are copying. But didn't even he say it, Guardiola, that, you know, if you look at Arsenal, for example, we look at their back line, yeah, their full-backs will want to get forward. But ultimately, you could argue, certainly Calafiore is a centre-back. But the Timber and Calafiore, their first job and their first mindset is defend forward. Everything else is a bonus after that. And I think that's the right mentality to have. Guardiola seems to have the opposite. Whereas he wants these attacking players and the full-back position, and it's leaving the rest of the other two centre-halves exposed. I mean, how can you be 5-1 up? I mean, you know, Fulham, to be fair, had only lost, I think, 4 goals. So the fact that City scored the amount they did is kudos to them. But you're 5-1 up and then you're hanging on at the end of the game. I mean, what does that tell you?
Hip, Josh.